Whispers across stardust, the first sign that my ordinary life was about to shatter, came with the strange lights that flickered across my laboratory windows. "Blix," murmured to himself, as he adjusted the microscope lens. The second was the panic. In my assistant's voice when she called Dr. Chen, Sarah's voice trembled through the CUM system. "There's an unregistered ship entering our atmosphere. It's not responding to colony protocols." I sighed, placing my samples in the preservation chamber. Another day, another crisis in humanity's furthest research outpost. The Telos 9 station wasn't much, but it had been my sanctuary for 5 years. Since leaving the diplomatic corps and all its painful memories behind security status, I asked, already reaching for my identification badge? "They've bypassed our defensive grid completely," Sarah responded, her voice dropping to a whisper. "But Dr. Chen, the energy signature, its hysteria in my heart, stopped the name alone, conjured images I'd fought hard to forget. Shimmering, violet skin eyes that reflected starlight, and a touch that could read emotions like books hysterians. The most powerful telepathic species in the known galaxy, and I had loved one of them once with everything. "I'll handle this," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Clear all non-essential personnel from the landing bay outside the desert winds of Telos 9. Whipped sand against my face as the ship descended in perfect silence, its hull gleamed with the distinctive opalescent sheen of Asterian technology, curves and angles that seemed to bend light itself. I stood alone on the landing pad, my white coat flapping around me like surrendering flags. The ship's ramp extended with a soft hiss, revealing a figure silhouetted against the interior lights. I recognized her immediately, even after all these years. Commander Rena Solari, Royal Guardian of the Asterian High Council, and once my greatest love. She walked toward me with the same fluid grace that had captivated me at that first interstellar summit. Her violet skin caught the dying sunlight, making her seem to glow from within her ceremonial armor. Silver plates that curved along her form chimed softly. With each step, "Alex Chen," she said, my name in her mouth, still sounding like music. "It has been too long," I swallowed, fighting the rush of emotions. Her presence triggered 5 years, 3 months, and 16 days, but who's counting? Attempted humor to mask the tremor in my voice. "Always precise," she smiled faintly. But the expression didn't reach her eyes. Something was wrong. I could see it in the tension she carried in her shoulders, the way her hands, so similar to human hands, yet with a subtle iridescent sheen, clenched at her sides. "Why are you here, Rena?" I asked. Our last conversation made it clear there was nothing left between us. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the familiar scent of night blossoms that always clung to her skin. "I would not have come if there were any other choice, Alex. I need your help, or rather does she?" I repeated, confused. Rena turned toward the ship and made a gesture with her hand. Another figure appeared at the top of the ramp, smaller, hesitant, a child. Perhaps 9 or 10 by human standards, with skin the color of twilight and eyes that reflected the stars themselves. But what struck me most were the features I recognized immediately. My own, the shape of her jaw, the slight furrow between her brows as she concentrated, even the way she stood analyzing everything around her. "This is Kaya," Rena said quietly. "Your daughter, our daughter, and she is next in line to rule the Asterian dominion." The world seemed to spin beneath my feet as the girl, my daughter, took a tentative step forward. In her eyes I saw galaxies of questions mirroring my own. "That's impossible," I whispered, though I knew instantly it was true. "You never told me there wasn't time." Rena's voice held a trace of the old pain, "and after you left, telling you seemed cruel to us both. But circumstances have changed. The crystal convergence has chosen her as the next ruler, and there are those who would challenge her right because of her human heritage." "What do you need from me?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "She needs her father," Rena said simply. "And I need the only human who ever truly understood us. Will you come with us, Alex? Will you help your daughter claim her birthright?" As Kaya stepped fully into the light of Telos 9's setting sun, I saw her face clearly for the first time, and every doubt, every question, every barrier I'd built around my heart began to crumble. Memories in violet light, the royal chamber aboard Rena's ship hummed with energy as we left. Telos 9's atmosphere. I sat across from my daughter, the words still strange in my mind, watching as she manipulated tiny crystals in a complex game of strategy. Her movements were precise, deliberate, each placement accompanied by a soft pulse of light from the stones. "She has your analytical mind," Rena said, settling beside me with 2 glasses of luminescent blue liquid in my pupils. "Connection to crystalline energies?" I accepted the drink. Her fingers brushing momentarily, the familiar spark of connection flared. "Rena's natural telepathic abilities, sensing my turbulent emotions. You're angry," she observed quietly. "Wouldn't you be?" I met her gaze directly. 10 years, Rena. No. 10 years not knowing I had a child. Kaya looked up at the tension in my voice. Her large eyes, so much like her mother's, studying us both with unnerving intensity. "Mother," she said, in a musical voice that carried subtle harmonics, "may I explore the observation deck?" "I wish to see the stars during transit." Rena nodded, and Kaya gracefully exited, leaving us alone with the weight of our shared past. "She's perceptive." "Noted more than you know," Rena sighed. "Her dual heritage has given her abilities even my people find remarkable. She senses emotions without touch, a rarity among Asterians." I leaned forward. "Tell me everything, Rena, from the beginning." She closed her eyes, and the chamber lights dimmed slightly in response to her emotional state. "Another aspect of Asterian technology that responded to their telepathic nature. Do you remember the Proxima Centauri summit?"
Yes.
She asked. The memories washed over me unbidden. The first time we met, the Earth's delegation had arrived for peace negotiations. Following years of misunderstandings between our species, I was there as a xenobiologist meant to help bridge the vast biological and cultural differences between humans and Asterians. "The garden at the Crystalline Embassy," I said softly. "You were demonstrating how Asterians commune with plants." Rena smiled. "You were the only human who asked to try, who wasn't afraid of touching minds with an alien." I remembered her cool fingers against my temples, the initial shock as her consciousness brushed against mine, followed by a sense of wonder I'd never experienced before or since. In that moment, our minds connected in ways human language couldn't describe. I felt her curiosity, her isolation as the only female commander among the Asterian military elite, her secret passion for Earth's oceans that she'd only seen in transmissions. 3 days later, you kissed me in the observatory," Rena continued, claiming it was an experiment in cross-species communication. I laughed despite myself. "A poor excuse, but you didn't seem to mind." I didn't. Her eyes, with their distinctive star-like pupils, softened. With the memory, for 42 days, we existed in our own universe, away from politics, away from the differences between our worlds. The stolen moments came back to me in vivid detail, teaching Rena to swim in the artificial lake behind the embassy, her delight at feeling water against her sensitive skin. Late nights discussing the philosophical differences between our people's mornings, waking to find her meditating, violet skin seeming to absorb the first light of dawn, and the nights exploring the strange and wonderful ways our bodies could come together. "Despite our differences, I didn't know about Kaya when you left," Rena said, interrupting my thoughts. "Asterian gestation works differently than human reproduction. The genetic material can remain dormant until conditions are optimal. When did you know?" I asked. 3 months after you returned to Earth." Rena's voice grew quiet. The High Council was in turmoil. Hardliners had taken control, declaring all humans potential threats. They demanded I sever all personal connections to your species. I remembered the final transmission I'd received. Rena, formal and distant, ending our relationship with diplomatic precision that did nothing to mask the pain in her eyes. "I was carrying your child while telling you. Could never see you again," she whispered. "Why didn't you tell me then? And what would you have done, Alex? Defied your government's recall order? Abandoned your career? Become an exile on a world that viewed you with suspicion?" The diplomatic fallout was already catastrophic. She was right, and we both knew it. Earth had withdrawn from the Alliance. Talks relations had deteriorated to the point where contact between our species became highly restricted. I had returned to Earth's heartbroken, eventually requesting the remote posting on Telos 9 to escape the memories. When Kaya was born, her dual nature was immediately apparent. Rena continued. The Council wanted her hidden away, a secret never to be revealed. But then the crystal convergence occurred. You mentioned that before? What is it? Our method of succession. Every generation, the ancient crystals at the heart of our world resonate with the one meant to lead. It's beyond our control. The crystals. Choose based on qualities we don't fully understand. When they chose Kaya, it sent shockwaves through Asterian society, a half-human heir. I realized the implications, and let me guess. Not everyone is thrilled about it. The purification faction has called for her removal. Rena's voice hardened. They claim her human blood makes her unfit to rule. That she's an abomination, rather than a bridge between our worlds and you. Need me because? Because she needs to understand both halves of herself to rule effectively. Rena reached across the table, her fingers stopping just short of mine, and because she has the right to know her father outside the viewport stars. Streaked by as we traveled faster than light toward the Asterian homeworld and a future I couldn't begin to imagine somewhere on this ship. My daughter, a princess of an alien empire, was watching those same stars carrying the weight of two worlds on her small shoulders. I should have looked for you, I admitted. The words catching in my throat. Even after your message, I should have fought harder. I should have told you about her. Rena's fingers finally closed the distance. Touching mine, the familiar sensation of her consciousness brushed against my mind. Tentative, asking permission, I nodded slightly and felt her presence flow into me, her regret, her fear for our daughter. And underneath it all, the love that had never truly faded. We have a second chance, Alex, she said aloud. Though her thoughts entwined with mine, not just for us, but for everything we once hoped our peoples could become. As her mind touched mine, I saw glimpses of Kaya growing. Up, taking her first steps toward Rena's outstretched arms, learning to focus. Her emerging telepathic abilities, asking questions about her absent father, and I felt the weight of what I had missed along with the possibility of what might still be. The crystal inheritance, the descent to Asteria Prime, was nothing short of breathtaking. Unlike Earth's blue-green sphere, the Asterian homeworld shimmered like an opal against the blackness of space, its atmosphere refracting light in ways that created a perpetual aurora across its surface. It's exactly as you described it, I said to Rena, as our ship pierced the upper atmosphere. The view from the command deck offered a panoramic vista of crystal spires that rose from the landscape. Like massive sentinels catching and amplifying the light of their binary suns, Kaya stood between us, her small hand slipping into mine unexpectedly. I looked down, startled by the contact and the faint telepathic impression that accompanied it, a mixture of anxiety and hope that wasn't my own will. They hate me because I'm part human? She asked with a directness that reminded me of myself. I knelt to meet her eyes, those remarkable star-patterned irises that reflected her. Asterian heritage, they might fear what they don't understand, I told her honestly. But that's not the same as hate, Mother says. You study different species. Not you help them understand each other. I try to, I smiled, squeezing her hand. Gently then, you can help them understand me, the simple logic of childhood, delivered with the gravity of someone much older as the ship docked at the Royal Spire, the tallest of the crystal structures and seat of Asterian governance. Rena touched my shoulder. The council awaits us in the Chamber of Resonance, she said, her voice taking on the formal tone of her position. They've agreed to meet Kaya's father, but many remain skeptical. What should I expect? They will test you, she replied, adjusting her ceremonial armor, plates of living crystal that shifted and aligned with her movements. And through you they will test Kaya's worthiness. The landing platform extended beneath a canopy of transparent crystal that caught the light in hypnotic patterns. As we disembarked, a delegation of Asterians awaited us, tall, regal figures with skin in various shades of violet and blue. Their eyes all held the same star-like pupils, though none shone as brightly as Kaya's. An elder Asterian stepped forward, his skin a deep indigo, etched with luminescent patterns that spoke of his great age. Commander Solari, you return with the human as promised. His voice carried the same harmonic overtones as all Asterians, but with an added resonance that seemed to vibrate in my chest. High Counselor Arius. Rena bowed slightly. I present Dr. Alexander Chen, of Earth, xenobiologist, former diplomat. And father to the chosen one. I fought the urge to fidget under the collective gaze of the delegation. Their telepathic abilities couldn't penetrate my mind without touch, but I felt the weight of their scrutiny nonetheless. The crystal convergence makes no mistakes, Arius said, his tone making it clear he wished otherwise, but neither has it ever chosen one of mixed heritage. Come, the convergence chamber has been prepared. We followed the procession through corridors of living crystal that seemed to sing with faint harmonics. Kaya walked between Rena and me, her posture perfect. Chin high, despite the whispers that followed us, I caught fragments of Asterian language. Words, like contamination and dilution, that made my protective instincts flare. Ignore them, Rena whispered, though I could see the tension in the set of her shoulders. The chamber of resonance lived up to its name, a vast hemispherical room with walls of perfectly aligned crystals that captured and amplified every sound. At the center stood a formation unlike any other, a cluster of midnight blue crystals that pulsed with inner light. Rising from the floor like a frozen fountain, the crystal heart, Rena explained quietly.
Oh.
The oldest living crystal on our world. Its consciousness stretches back to the beginning of our civilization. The council members, 12 in total, arranged themselves in a semicircle around the crystal formation. Each wore ceremonial armor unique to their lineage with arias. At the center, his indigo skin almost blackened the chamber's ethereal lighting. The purpose of this gathering is to confirm the human's paternity and assess the half-breed's claim to succession. Arias announced the casual cruelty of his words. Made me clench my fists. Her name is Kaya, I said, my voice echoing more loudly than intended in the resonant chamber. She is not a half-breed. She is the daughter of Commander Rena Solari and Dr. Alexander Chen, the first child. Of both our worlds, a murmur ran through the assembled. Council Rena shot me a warning glance, but there was approval in her eyes. The human speaks out of turn, another counselor noted, a female with lavender skin and elaborate crystal adornments. Woven into her silver hair, the human speaks the truth. Counselor Taryn Rena countered, which is why we have come before the crystal heart, so that truth may be known to all. Arias gestured toward the crystal formation, then led the communion. Begin. Dr. Chen approached the heart. Rena touched my arm. It will attempt to connect with your consciousness, she explained. Do not resist it. I approached the pulsing crystal cautiously. Its surface shifted like liquid despite appearing solid, reflecting distorted versions of my face as I drew near. Place your hands upon it and open your mind, Arias instructed, taking a deep breath. I pressed my palms against the crystal's cool surface for a moment. Nothing happened, then a sensation. Like ice water flowing up my arms and into my mind made me gasp. Colors and sounds beyond human perception flooded my consciousness. The crystal was alive in ways I couldn't comprehend. Its awareness vast and alien. I felt it rifle through my memories. Meeting Rena for the first time, our secret rendezvous during the summit, the pain of our separation, my years of lonely exile on Telos 9, and the shock of discovering Kaya's existence. The crystal heart absorbed it all with cold precision, neither judging nor approving, simply knowing, just as suddenly as it began. The connection severed, leaving me disoriented and breathing heavily. Rena was at my side, instantly steadying me. The heart confirms paternity, Arias announced. Sounding disappointed, the child carries both bloodlines now. Kaya must be tested. The lavender-skinned counselor, Taryn, declared. Kaya stepped forward without hesitation, her small form dwarfed by the massive crystal formation. Unlike my tentative approach, she walked directly to the heart and placed both hands on its surface with the confidence of familiarity. The chamber filled with light as the crystal heart pulsed in response to her touch. The connection between them was immediate and powerful, so intense that the air itself seemed to vibrate. Kaya's eyes closed in concentration, her purple skin beginning to glow from within, as if she were absorbing the crystal's energy. Extraordinary. I heard one of the counselors whisper. The crystal's pulsing intensified, creating patterns of light that danced across the chamber walls. Then, without warning, smaller crystal formations throughout the room began to resonate in harmony, creating a symphony of light and sound that built to a crescendo. When it finally subsided, Kaya opened her eyes. They glowed with the same inner light as the heart itself. The crystal convergence reaffirms its choice, she said, but her voice had changed. Layered with harmonics that weren't her own, I am Kaya Chancelari. Daughter of Earth and Asteria, the heart recognizes me as its chosen. Even Arias appeared shaken. The heart speaks through her. It has never done so with any previous heir, because none were needed as she is needed. Kaya continued in that same resonant voice. The division between our worlds must end. The time of isolation is over then, As suddenly as it had come, the strange energy faded, and Kaya was once again a small girl who looked exhausted by what had just transpired. She swayed slightly, and I rushed forward to catch her eye. "Did well, didn't I, father?" she asked quietly as I lifted her into my arms. "You were magnificent," I whispered, eh? Lump forming in my throat at hearing her call me father for the first time, Rena approached us, her expression a mixture of pride and concern. "The council must deliberate on what we've witnessed," she said, "but they cannot deny what the crystal heart has confirmed," as we left the chamber with Kaya still cradled in my arms. I caught sight of Counselor Taryn watching us with an unreadable expression. "The Purification faction will not accept this easily," Rena murmured as we walked. "What happened today was unprecedented, but it will only strengthen their resolve to prevent a half-human from taking the throne." "Then we'll have to be stronger," I replied, feeling Kaya's weight in my arms. So small to bear such an enormous destiny for her sake, Rena led us to her private quarters within the royal spire. A series of chambers carved from single crystals that caught the light of the setting suns. As I laid Kaya on a bed that seemed to float in midair, suspended by invisible energy fields, she stirred there afraid. She said drowsily, "I felt it when the heart connected us. They fear what I represent." I smoothed her hair back from her forehead. "So human a gesture for my Hephalian daughter. Change is always frightening," I told her. "Even necessary change. Will you stay, father?" Her stars fixed on mine with an intensity that belied her exhaustion. "Will you help me show them they needn't be afraid?" Over her head, my eyes met Rena's. In that moment, I knew there was only one possible answer, one future I could choose. "Yes, Kaya, I promise. I'm not going anywhere." Hearts among stars, the days following Kaja's presentation to the Crystal Heart blurred together in a whirlwind of political maneuvering as I stood on the balcony of Rena's quarters, watching the binary sun set over the crystal landscape. I sensed her presence before she spoke. "The council has been in session for hours," she said. "Joining me at the railing Arias and the Purification faction are pushing for additional tests of Kaya's worthiness." I turned to face her, the fading light catching the subtle iridescence of her violet skin. "They're stalling, hoping to find some pretext to disqualify her." "Yes," she sighed, her fingers brushing mine in that tentative way that had become familiar again. "But Counselor Taryn has become an unexpected ally she believes the Crystal Heart's unprecedented response to. Kaya signals a new era. The proximity of her body to mine awakened memories I'd tried to suppress for years. And what do you believe, Rena?" Met mine, reflecting constellations I'd never seen from Earth. "I believe that loving you was the most profound decision of my life," she whispered. Even with all the pain that followed, the tension between us broke like a dam my hands found. Her face, as her arms encircled my waist, our lips met in a kiss that held 5 years of longing, regret, and unspoken words. Her mind brushed against mine through the contact, sharing emotions too complex for language. I never stopped loving you. I confessed against her lips. "Nor I you," she responded, her hands tracing familiar paths along my back. We moved inside as darkness fell, discovering each other anew. The places where we differed and where we aligned perfectly, despite our separate evolutions. Her skin glowed faintly in the darkness. As we came together, telepathic connection amplifying every sensation until it was impossible to tell where my pleasure ended and hers began after. As we lay entwined, Rena traced patterns on my chest. "We must be careful," she murmured. "The Purification faction has spies everywhere. Our renewed relationship could be used against Kaya's claim." "Let them try," I said, fiercely pulling her closer. "I've lost you once. I won't lose either of you again." The following morning, Kaya found us sharing breakfast in the private garden adjoining Rena's quarters. Her knowing smile as she looked between us made it clear that little escaped her notice the council summons. "Us," she announced with precocious formality that made me smile. Despite the seriousness of our situation in the council chamber, we faced new challenges. Arias stood with several supporters, their faces set in disapproving lines. "The law requires the chosen one to demonstrate mastery of Asterian disciplines," he declared. "The half-human must prove herself worthy through the trials of communion, transformation, and resonance." "She is a child," I protested. "She is the chosen counselor." Taryn countered, her lavender skin luminous against her silver hair. And she will prevail. She turned to Kaya with unexpected gentleness. Will you accept the trials, young one? Kaya stepped forward, her small form radiating determination. I will, and I will succeed, as she underwent each trial. I held my breath, watching her connect with ancient crystal formations, transform their structures with her mind alone, and create harmonies that brought tears to even Arius's eyes. Her dual heritage, rather than weakening her abilities, it created something entirely new, a bridge between worlds, just as she herself was. When the final trial ended, even the Purification faction stood silent, unable to deny what they had witnessed. The Chosen One has proven herself, Taryn announced, satisfaction evident in her voice. The ascension will proceed as the Crystal Heart has decreed. That night, as Kaya slept peacefully after her ordeal, Rena and I stood watch. Over her, our hands linked. Our daughter will change everything, she whispered. Hope and fear mingling in her voice, I squeezed her hand. That's exactly what the universe needs. Dynasty of two worlds. The day of Kaj's formal recognition dawned. With both suns aligned in the sky, a rare phenomenon that the Asterians considered auspicious, the great crystal hall filled with dignitaries, including a hastily assembled delegation from Earth, the first official diplomatic mission in 5 years. Nervous? I asked Rena, as we prepared in her chambers. Terrified, she admitted, with a vulnerability she showed only to me. This changes the course of Asterian history forever. Kaya entered wearing ceremonial robes that combined traditional Asterian crystal elements with subtle Earth-inspired designs. How do I look? She asked shyly, like the future. I answered truthfully, my heart swelling with pride. The ceremony proceeded with solemn grandeur, ancient rites performed. Beneath the crystalline dome that amplified every sound too, celestial proportions. When the moment came for Kaya's presentation, I stood with Rena at the base of the crystal dais. High Counselor Arias, despite his initial opposition, performed his duty with dignity. Who presents this chosen one for recognition? He intoned. Rena stepped forward in her full commander regalia. I, Rena Solari, royal guardian of the Asterian High Council, present my daughter. Then it was my turn. My voice echoed through the vast chamber as I spoke the words we had practiced. I, Alexander Cheneverth, acknowledge this child as my daughter and pledge my support to her claim. Together, we said, we present Kaya Chancelari, daughter of two worlds, chosen of the Crystal Heart. Kaya ascended the crystal steps alone, her small purple form radiating confidence beyond her years. The Crystal Heart, transported from its chamber for this rare occasion, pulsed in synchrony with her approach when she placed her hands upon it. The now familiar glow enveloped her, but this time it spread outward, touching everyone in the chamber with a sensation of connection that transcended species barriers for one breathtaking moment. Every mind in the hall, Asterian and human alike, shared a vision of possibility of worlds united rather than divided. The recognition is complete, Arias announced when the light faded, his voice subtly changed by what he had experienced. The Chosen One is confirmed, as the assembly dispersed for the celebration to follow. Counselor Taryn approached us. You should know, she said quietly. I have proposed a new position to the Council, Earth's liaison to the Asterian crown. A role that would suit you, Dr. Chen, should you choose to remain among us after she departed. Rena turned to me, her eyes searching mine. You don't have to accept, she said softly. Your life on Earth is nothing compared to what awaits me here. I finished for her, taking her hands in mine. My home is with you and Kaya now, and mine with you, she replied, her mind touching mine with all the love she couldn't express in words alone. Later, as celebrations illuminated the crystal city, we stood on a high balcony, Rena, Kaya, and I, looking out over a world on the cusp of transformation. What happens now, Father? Kaya asked, leaning against me while Rena's arm encircled my waist. I looked down at my daughter. This miracle of two species, this bridge between worlds, and then at the woman, where I'd loved to cross the stars, and found again now, I said simply, we build the future together. Rena's lips met mine in a kiss that promised exactly that. As our daughter smiled up at us, her star eyes reflecting the endless possibilities that stretched before us all.